What's up, y'all? You're now listening to the What Now podcast. I'm Dr. Spencer Dupre, owner of Empower Chiropractic.
And I am Dr. Zach Thompson, owner of Within Chiropractic. The purpose of this podcast is to document and share the experiences of two young business owners as we open our own brick and mortar chiropractic practices. Join along as we discuss all of our wins, our losses, insights, and the many, many lessons we learned.
As a disclaimer, none of this is ever intended to be medical, legal, or financial advice. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the What Now podcast, fresh off of the holiday break. New year, same us, 2023. Here it is. Welcome back, Dr. Spencer Dupre, Empower Chiropractic in Argyle. My homie Zach in Within Chiropractic,
What up?
Hollyville, Texas. What's up, guys? What's up?
What is going on, y'all? We, like Spencer said, are back from the holidays. We had a great Christmas, good New Year. Hope you all did as well. If you do repost us, which we would love, if you post us on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you share this, let us know what your word of the year is. We'd love to know. My personal word of the year is discipline as I go into my first full year as being a business owner. Spencer, do you have a word of the year yet, or are you not that kind of guy?
The old me, kind of like we talked about last week, I wasn't that type of guy, but I think my word of the year is depth. I just want to go deeper. Trying to have a mile deep hole that's just an inch wide, and that's where I'm trying to get to. So yeah, I think it's depth. I really just want to go deeper in chiropractic, in my knowledge, in my connection with people. That's
good, man. That's good.
Yeah, give us some discipline, right?
Yeah. Yep. Discipline,
what are some areas that?
Biggest thing, I've mentioned over and over again on this podcast, but the ability to do the mundane tasks. I noticed towards, getting to the end of Christmas or the holidays, took a week off in practice, went back home, but I started noticing, I'm not going to do this. Instead of the end of day, EOD, that whatever it's called, but it was more end of December and now it's January and I still haven't done them yet. So just doing the Monday task and being disciplined in that, but also in my daily routine. So waking up to the alarm and not hitting snooze, or really trying to but really be disciplined and getting in the cold water immersion. So 5 times a week doing a cold shower, which is awful. But we love it. Feel good. Good little vagus nerve stimulation, get the autonomics back in balance. And then being disciplined too, and, trying to, I saw Jesse Itzler talk about this, but he mentioned, the power in reaching out. So a goal of mine is to be disciplined when I have, 15, 20 minutes whenever throughout the day to send 3 to 5 DMs or text messages or emails to people in the community or people, that I've met in the community, and not to sell them on chiropractic, but just say, hey, reaching out, really appreciate meeting you over the year. Let me know if I can ever do anything for you, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So being disciplined in those type of tasks. And then I also signed up for a marathon, April 1st. We're going to run 26.2 miles. I don't know, you probably can't tell via camera since we're not releasing the video, but I'm not a marathon guy. I'm about 5'11", 230. If round
you're
is
a
shape,
slim and trim 230.
Slim and trim 230. Not an endurance athlete. My future father-in-law, I told him, and he was like, "Well, what are you going to do about the shape?" And that was just a funny little
get in it.
But yeah, it's been awesome. So discipline is the word of the year. And like I mentioned, if you do have one, let us know in your Instagram share. Really appreciate it. But yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think with the new year, like everybody thinks that you have to like reset, right? Like just because it's a new year doesn't mean in all instances that you're starting like a clean slate, right? I feel like I'm very much in a continuation, right? More of an enhancement. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about, I'm not a very, I don't know, I don't like to be put into a box, right? And so like I feel like 1 year, right, is just such a short time span, And so I'm really working on going deeper into myself because I have this huge, large vision for my practice, for my life, for what I want in the future. But to be able to like compartmentalize it into like just a year is tough for me. So trying to go deeper into that vision and really kind of break it down and see what it looks like. Also getting deeper into the community, deeper into practice, into myself, into my analytics, all those things. Just trying to really take more ownership of everything that I guess I already own, but trying to own it better.
That'll go a long way too. I think it's good to have a word of the year. When I started doing it, I think it was honestly the first time I really remember was 2022, and my word of the year was cultivate. And I was able to cultivate practice, emerging community in the practice, an amazing relationship with my girlfriend, cultivate long-lasting friendships and relationships that I think will not only add value to my life, but I can also add value to them. That's another big focus is finding those relationships that add value. And I think that's a really good segue into our topic of the day, which is how to handle the conversations when you do go home, when you're around a group of friends and you mention chiropractic, or you mention you're going to open your business, or you mention really any of the things that a typical chiropractic student or even doctor experiences when they're back in circles of the past. And so, Spencer, I'm curious, if you reflect back, maybe your first time going home or the first time you go home after knowing the bigness of chiropractic, what were those first initial conversations like when you start talking about innate intelligence or opening a business? How did that go, and how did you handle it?
Oh man, I think, well, for one, I think that talking about like the very first time you go back and the very first time that you have those conversations, you're just a fire hydrant, and you're just like, so I feel like it's a lot of like, man, I'm just like spewing information, and then everybody's kind of like, nice, yeah, kind of checked out. I think that's how it first goes, and then like, for me, I mean, the first thing that anybody ever brings up when you're like, yeah, I'm gonna open my own practice, they're like, oh, that costs a lot of money, doesn't it? And it's like, I mean, that's a yes and no answer, right? I mean, I feel like my practice didn't cost me very much money to open up. In retrospect, I mean, I think I opened on like $7,000 versus like somebody who's like $290,000. Like,
yeah, yep. There's definitely a wide range of what it takes to start up cost. Yeah.
Yeah. And talking with our buddy Colton, like he's just talking about like spaces and stuff. And it's like, man, what feels congruent with you? And I feel like you can't really fault anyone for having an opinion on, especially your family, because your family's always going to tell you their opinion, whether you want it or not. And I always want my family's opinion, even though I might not like it. But everyone is entitled, I guess, to their own opinion. It's if you let other people's opinion change your opinion of yourself is what really matters. Right. And so if you're letting all these voices, whether it's from family or friends or from the internet or whatever, mold and shape your vision for your future different from what feels congruent with yourself, then you're getting off track, right? You're now like letting people define you and can control yourself versus you like walking in that purpose, right? And I feel like that's where failure comes in, is when we lose sense of identity. And so if you're going home and you're letting people like dismantle your opinion of chiropractic and what you believe to be true, then one, your conviction isn't strong enough, and two, you probably don't know enough, right? Because like with knowledge comes conviction, right?
1,000%.
Either like you learn that like, oh, what I thought to be true is false, or oh, what I thought to be true is true, and then you just have more and more evidence or data or whatever to back it up. And now if you're strong enough in self, like to apply that to your life and to your vision, then that's some more internal work, I feel like.
Yep. And I think that holds so much truth in knowledge equals conviction. I mean, it's with anything. Time under tension equals results. Whether you're in the gym or you're studying for a test or getting ready for a presentation, whatever you're doing, being a parent, typically the longer you've done it, you're going to have, one, a lot more knowledge of how to best go about it, but two, it's going to work. And I think that's where a huge value comes in mission trips or just getting your hands on people as a student and really starting to adjust when you can, and maybe palpate outside of school, wink, wink. But really being able to see the power of chiropractic come through, and not just be reading it also, right? So having the knowledge, knowing the skill level, listening and learning from the experts, and then doing it yourself. I think that was one of the best things I learned in my brief instance in Dallas when I was first an independent contractor. Was I had about 4, 5, 6 months of delivering adjustments, and really starting to see, oh wait, this works, right? Because when you're in school, you really get, for me, my clinic experience was 3 months in the Parker clinic, 3 months having a torn pec, and then 3 months at another 3 months at another CBI or internship office. And 3 months is a long time, but it's not as long to see those big transformations that we read about and see in chiropractic care. And so when you get to actually witness those, now you have the conviction when you're in front of someone or amongst your family or amongst your friends talking about the bigness of chiropractic. Now you've witnessed it. So that's where my recommendation, especially, if you didn't go on a mission trip this past holiday, I would do your best. Do your best to, raise the funds, do a GoFundMe, get to a mission trip, and really just do your best to be at any club that allows you to adjust, and just learning from other students, because that's where that conviction is going to come from that Spencer's talking about.
Yeah. I feel like kind of what we were talking about earlier, like it can look different for every single person, and your conviction is ultimately what determines your success. Like, yes or no, like do you believe in the vision more so than you believe in your present time moment, right? And like your present time moment is the thing that then like leads you to your conviction, right? If you guys are followers of like Tim Young, he put out a video today like talking about like the difference between a successful and a non-successful chiropractor is do you believe in the chiropractic premise or not? That like by detecting and correcting, well, it's not the major premise, but like that if you are a chiropractor that believes in detecting and correcting vertebral subluxation, which is the cause of all disease in the body, then like, and when subluxation is removed, then like sick people get well. Like if you believe in that and you can say that, like, then that's whenever things really start to change, right? It's like when you become a follower of Christ, like when you can believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord, then like that's when your actions really start to change. And like that's whenever you you have a change of heart, right? And you're able to reposture yourself into different situations, right? If you don't truly believe that like Jesus Christ is Lord and somebody comes up to you and says like the church is BS, and like you're like, well, maybe it is, like, right? But if like with me, like if somebody comes in and it's like, okay, that's their opinion, it doesn't change my opinion of myself. Like I don't even have that thought because I'm convicted in that. And the same thing with chiropractic, right? Like when people say like, like, oh, I believe in chiropractic. It's like, well, you should. It's science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite memes I think I've ever seen, where it's like a circle of people getting coffee, and it's Santa Claus, what's the Easter Bunny, and a couple other like fake things like a unicorn's probably, but a unicorn,
a holiday armadillo.
Yeah. And then a chiropractor. And it's, it's like, oh, like after 12 years old, no one ever believes in us anymore. And so it just makes me laugh when people do say like, oh, I'm a believer in chiropractic. I'm like, cool. I didn't know we were a religion. But I mean, I think another piece, Spence, that you've hit on is allowing others' opinions. And this is where I think it's so hard those first few times going back home, because the people that we love the most and care about the most, we also care the most about their opinions and what they say on us. And I remember just having so many friends that would go home and they're fired up about chiropractic. And then they come back and we start school again. And it's like, how's your break? And they're like, oh, my mom still, doesn't believe in chiropractic. And they take it as a failure that they weren't able to convince their own mom or their own dad that chiropractic works. And there is another world out there where you're not confined to medications and surgery and pills and all this. And you know what? Typically, more often than not, you're not going to be the one to convince your parents. It's going to have to happen from either someone else, or that's not your battle. For one, if you're not going home and they're not coming in your office, they don't need that education. But two, it's okay. Like, you still should know that chiropractic works. So building that conviction, but then also being okay if your parents don't agree with chiropractic, they might come around, you know? There's no need to think in 2 weeks that they're going to learn and understand and have this change in philosophy that you've had over the course of a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. So don't put that pressure on yourself. It's not your job to change their view, just as it's not a Christian's job to offer salvation to every person they meet. Our goal and our mission is to share the gospel, but there's no need to have a tracker of how many people you've saved, because one, you're not doing the saving, and it's the same for chiropractic. So that's I would just be so, I wouldn't even necessarily get frustrated, but I would just be like, man, like they really care about what their parents think. And don't get me wrong, I definitely care about what my parents think, and was blessed to have, a mom and dad that, for one, got to experience some pretty great adjusting, because, Spencer and I put the work in. But also, I didn't necessarily share the information to teach them or convince them that chiropractic works, but I shared it from this childlike excitement. Like, hey, like you guys want to hear what I learned from school today? No? Okay. I'll eat my chicken nuggets. Right. But if they were open to it, and I'd share a little bit, drop a little in their mind, in their field, and then go from there. And then they would start to see how it would transform my life too.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, I feel like I had the totally opposite. Like, I didn't face a ton of like, oh, okay, like that's cute. Like, because, one, I talk with my mom every single day pretty much. And, I speak to most people in my family pretty consistently. And so like, they hear about like the work that I'm doing and like the hours that I'm putting in. And so like, then when you come home and it's like, oh, okay, it's like, so this is what you've been talking to me about, like, in November, like when you went to this thing, this is what you learned. Like, yeah. And so like being able to like just share that information with them, like you were saying, like not from a place like a preaching, right? People don't like to be preached at. People like to be informed. People don't like, but nobody likes the guy who's on their soapbox that's yelling at them and is like pointing them out in the crowd, right? And I mean, I feel like my family's been like that the whole time. It's like, yeah, I mean, I would tell my mom stuff and she would be like, maybe. And she'd be like, I don't know about that. And I think one time my mom, like I told her something and she's like, well, I'm going to tell you my opinion, whether you want it or not. And like, or something like that, And I was like, actually I value that because in my family, it's, if you're not going to be real with your family, then who are you going to be real with? And so like, if I would say something that like was maybe kind of out of line, my mom would be like, hey, like that doesn't make any sense. And nobody's going to understand that when you say that. I'm like, wow, like, that stings maybe at first, but actually I really appreciate it looking down the line. My mom's never been wrong, but because she listens to this podcast, but
it's probably true. Yeah. I don't think mine has either.
But at the same time, like, it's the same thing. Like when you have patients like come into your clinic, like if you like just like splurge on them all this information, they're going to check out and they're going to be like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Right. If you really understand what you're talking about, you should be able to explain it like so simply that it's so profound that it's so simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
No, 1,000%. There's no need to, take your entire neurophysiological test that you just took after try 4 and try to just drown that throughout your family, right? It's like,
yeah,
if it should be practice. Like use your family as practice, right? Like Spencer just talked about, try to explain it in different ways for them to understand it. I mean, one of the more profound moments I had with my mom was the discussion on Advil and, taking Advil for headaches or for, your back pain. Very simple question, is your back pain or is your headache happening because your body's lacking Advil? And leave it, leave it just at that. There's no need to then go into, I think I did because I just learned about like the different enzymes and stuff that happens in the body when you take Advil, like, yeah, it blocks this enzyme, but then it also blocks all these other enzymes in your digestive tract. And that's when I lost her. But that's still, that question always remained. And she still brings it up to this day of, that day we talked about Advil really, changed my perspective on health, and the allopathic model that we're solicited to in this country. And so it's just a simple question. And again, relating it back to faith, if you read the Bible, if you read the New Testament, all Jesus does is talk in parables. Sometimes it's confusing as heck. You're like, I don't know, man. I don't know if the birds in the air are worth more to God than I am, but can you just tell me the straight up answer? But it allows you to meditate, and it doesn't take away that revelation to someone else. That's another big aspect. You don't need to bring them the whole concept. Just start with questions.
Yeah. I mean, well, with chiropractic, I feel like this is my biggest thing too. And like when you learn about like your relationship with Christ, like, right, Jesus died for us, like whether we wanted him to or not, like whether we, like ourselves, like you, wanted to or not. And the reason that it is so pure and it is a gift is because like we didn't choose, right? Because like if we asked him to, then it wouldn't be a gift. Or like if he forced it upon us, like salvation, it wouldn't be a gift. And so it's the same thing of chiropractic, like our homie Mason, the gift of chiropractic, right? Like the true gift is that we are able to present people solutions to their problems and or needs or etc. And if you can have no attachment to if they sign up or not, or if they believe, quote, in chiropractic or not, then like that's when it really is a gift, because like all you're doing is saying like, hey, I'm in the right place to help. I believe that I can help you like in this certain case. And like, I would love to see you get better. And like, whether you choose to sign up or not, like there's no judgment upon you. Right. And letting people like discover, that's why like, dude, I love surprises. Like when people are like, want to know what I got you for whatever? I'm like, no, it's a surprise. Like I'm going to find out that day.
That seems like Caitlin definitely would buy Christmas presents for you and be like, you want to see it?
Dude, yeah. And so I'm like, no, like I want it to be a surprise because like it's something that you got me without me asking for it, or that like you intentionally thought of that like would be important to me, and you're giving it to me like hoping that I enjoy it, but having no attachment to whether I do or not. And like that's what the real gift is. And so if you can do that, the same thing with chiropractic, then you can never be butthurt, because it's like, dude, I just did my best to help these people out, and like if they received it, then great. If they didn't, then also great.
Yeah. And to go on the surprise, I'll just share a testimonial that happened in our office 2 days ago or yesterday. But I had a patient coming in, and she's got chronic pain, chronic stiffness. Really successful realtor. Wouldn't think that she's in chronic pain. Has a bit of arthritis, but one thing she mentions in our consultation is, she hasn't had a menstrual cycle. Like she's had to take so many medications and estrogen and all these different things because her menstrual cycle would be so bad that it would last for like a month, that she'd be bleeding for a month, and just all the like this crazy stuff. And so she got off of the medication because that's what her doctors recommended. And she told me in the consultation, she's like, if you can get everything to go away, that'd be great, right? But please do not bring back my menstrual cycle. And I was like, huh? I was kind of like, why would you not? And then obviously seeing the trauma that came with all of that. And because, we removed the interference of the nervous system, her cycle did come back, and she was terrified. She was like, I should start taking the medications again. And I was like, give it 14 days, right? Like just wait it out. Let's see if this thing like finds balance again, because your body is showing that it's clear every time you get up off the table. And, this was back in December and come back from Christmas. And she's like, you'll never guess. And I, unfortunately forgot. And so I was like, yeah, I really have no clue what you're about to tell me. She's like, it went away. And that kind of took me a second, and I was like, what went away? She was like, my cycle. Like it came and it went. Like that's never happened before. And that was a huge surprise to me, but also a huge surprise to her. And I never, I was never doing a certain adjustment to bring back her cycle or turn it back off. Like it was still the same chiropractic care, but that surprise, and me not like telling her that it was going to come back or go off. I never, one, I didn't know, and two, I wasn't going to take that away from her. Really allowed like her to see just how powerful nervous system based chiropractic care is. And now, I mean, she'll probably, I would hope, be a lifelong patient.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's really about like, yeah, just having no attachment like to the end result, right? It's like, I'm just moving in the best intention. Like I was talking about in that verse, like, right. It's like, so you can be pure and blameless, like on the day of Christ, right? It's like, I'm just doing my best to help people, and people really appreciate that. Like I had a mom, come in and being like, hey, what's this? And I was like, look, I'll be real with you. And, we go through this conversation, and she's like, I really appreciate like your honesty and your flexibility. Right. And it's like, hey, it's not about money. It's not about like whatever. It's really about making sure that, you guys get to live the life that you deserve. Right. Like people deserve to be connected. People deserve to be, sickness free. People deserve to, appreciate and love life and not have to like live like appointment to appointment between doctors and everything. Like, so many people come into the office and they always say like, this place is so different. Like this isn't a doctor's office. And you say, good, it's not supposed to be, right? Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be, this office is built for you. And, people say like, what is that? It's like, it's built for people like you, right? So people can come in, appreciate it, get away from all the things that are holding them back to empower them and make them feel like they belong here. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah. And I think too, like, it's kind of funny. I had a newer patient come in, and I don't really see kids. Spencer, I always joke with Spencer that I see kids, but I think I have like 4 kids as patients. But two of them do not come in with shoes on. Like they're just like so used to taking their shoes off that they like when they get in the car and their parents drive them, they don't put shoes on. And one of them was walking out one day, and this new patient member, or practice member saw the kid walking out with no shoes and was like, hey, like you forgot your shoes. And the kid turned around and was like, I don't wear shoes in here anymore. And the guy was like, this is okay, cool. And he took his shoes off and was just waiting in the waiting room with no shoes on. So it was like this cool little seeing the community come together, and seeing how like, I doubt there's many other doctor's offices with the kids walking in with no shoes. So yeah. They still got to wear a shirt.
Yeah, we love the little barefoot kids.
Yep. So it's just fun stuff, and it's again, don't get beat up by the opinions of others. Because trust me, there have been plenty of people that have told me you got to wear shoes and you got to do this and blah blah blah. Still doing okay, not wearing shoes, and couldn't really care about your opinion. But I also had a lot of conviction in knowing the power of being barefoot because I, read up on it. I followed the barefoot people on Instagram, and I, know that you have just as many nerve endings in your feet as you do in your hands, and you need that sensory information. So, anyways,
yeah,
enough about barefoot.
But like staying on the topic of like social media and following people, dude, like what you follow on social media is so potent. Like people come up to me and they be like, dude, you see this on Instagram? I'm like, no. And they're like, dude, you see this on Instagram? No. I'd be like, dude, you see this on Facebook? No. And it's like, why not? They're like, oh, you don't follow so-and-so? It's like, no, because the only people that I follow are people who I genuinely want to stay involved in their life. Or people who like I have interest in their product, and then when I no longer have interest in their product, then I unfollow them, because I don't need people to be shoving their opinions, right? Because everyone has an opinion down my throat, to mold of vision or an image of myself that they are inherently and willingly knowing to do, right? And so like, I mean, that's what branding is, and like, there's nothing evil about that. It's just suggestion, right? Yeah. But if you're having all these people who are like suggesting these things that are detrimental to like your vision for the end of your life, dude, unfollow them, right? Like you would not knowingly, nobody would like willingly like cause harm to any part of their life. Like if they like, right, we're running at a normal circumstance, right? So like, I'm not willingly going to like eat McDonald's every day if I'm like, hey, I'm trying to lose weight, right? Like I'm trying to have, a really good positive outlook on kids health, holistic health, and chiropractic. And so I don't follow the no cracky backy guy, whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
And, I like people send stuff like that. Like, I mean, we're in a group of chiropractors, like, and so we see all the smack talk that people talk about chiropractors. And it's like, I get some friends that call me and they're like, dude, that like, blah, blah, I can't believe so-and-so posted this. I was like, unfollow them if you don't like it.
I can't believe Joe Rogan doesn't believe in chiropractic, man. Like, we got to get a chiropractor on Joe Rogan's podcast. No.
Yeah, but
Not gonna do much.
Yeah, like, I mean, Joe Rogan has a cool podcast and he's got a big platform, but like, I don't listen to him because I don't have time. And like,
exactly. And it's like, I mean, I think I'm currently finishing up Grant Cardone's Sell or Be Sold. Great book. Shout out to Jamal Fruster for recommending that. But he talks about turning your car into a library, whether it's Audible or YouTube. And same thing with your social media, right? Like follow the few people that you truly care about, like Spencer mentioned, and then start, maybe following a Hormozy or a Gary Vee or, these guys that are just every day putting out informational content. So when you do get on there, you see, your friend's new puppy, or you see that your friend's got engaged, or you see, a good looking place to eat around town from another friend or influencer. But then you get into the meat and you start to, listen to sales tactics from Hormozy, or you listen to Gary Vee on how to post more and what to be posting on and this and that. And it's like, now all of a sudden, like you go on Instagram and you just spent 10 minutes there, and instead of being sucked into it and having your mood dropped, you're now like elevated because you're still a consumer, but you're consuming the right type of information. And that would be my biggest piece of advice too. If you're in chiropractic school and you have a Netflix account, but it might be your friend's Netflix account, so maybe a bad example, but you need to, I wish I did this sooner, get an Audible account. It's $15 a month.
It can be your friend's Audible account.
Or, maybe. You get one book a month, you download it, and you can listen to it in the car while you're working out, and it's game changing. Like now every time you go on a drive, maybe you pop in a podcast, but you still got the book. So every time it should be a podcast or a book. And to me, there's really no need, and it's going to sound maybe a little radical, but there's no need for music on your way to the gym when you're in chiropractic school. You're already learning so much. Throw in a podcast. Throw in throw on an Audible, and just start learning. And if you're like, I don't know what books, just go to the business section. I'm sure one of the top 5 books in the business section is probably a good read. They're not paying for like Google ads, so it's not Joe Blow writing a business book. It's someone who's done something in business. Download it, listen to it. Next month comes around, get another book, and you just start this really good, healthy cycle. And it's really like, to me, before I started reading or doing Audible or listening to podcasts, I was like, I don't like need that stuff. And then you start to interview or talk to successful people in your community, and they're like, well, in this book I learned this, and on this podcast I learned this, and you're like, oh, like reading does matter, right? So that would be my biggest recommendation. If you're looking to up-level your conviction or up-level your certainty, is get on a podcast, or not get on a podcast, but start listening to podcasts and audibles. Go to a mission trip. Stop worrying about the opinions of others, and go from there. See how much that changes your life.
Yeah. On the book deal too, like I feel like it's all about in allowance, right? Like in chiropractic, we're always searching for balance and normal, and we're like, okay, what is normal, right? Like what is the normal operating deal? And like for me, dude, I did the whole like, hey, I'm only listening to podcasts when I work out, when I do this stuff, when I do this, right? It was like podcasts all the time, and it's like all I'm doing is listening to people talk, and I'm not actually implementing any of the stuff that I'm listening to because I'm consuming so much information. Like I have like consumer's paralysis. So then I was just like, all right, I'm going to create a really tight container for this. And so it's like, all right, if I'm doing cardio, like long form cardio, I listen to podcasts. If I'm lifting weights, I'm listening to music. like when I'm driving to the gym, like I'm listening to music, right? When I am driving to work, I listen to a podcast. When I drive back from work, I call my mom. Like I just have like these set times.
Yeah, you have
like
a routine. Yeah.
Yeah, and these like set like spaces that are like, okay, this is allowed and this is not, because I felt like when I was like doing all this stuff, I could never unplug like from entrepreneur mode, and it was just causing me like way more stress. And so like being able to disconnect like from that part of my life like a little bit is nice. Like just kind of shift gears. It just really kind of depends on your personality, I feel like. And for me,
I think too, like as a chiropractic student, there's no, I really agree with you, Spence, that there needs to be a balance. And two, there's no reason why you shouldn't be consuming at least 3 to 4 podcasts a week. And if you're like, oh, I listen to Joe Rogan and it's 4 hours long, do that on a Saturday if you have the time. But like, you know, get on some podcasts where people are spewing out information, whether it's Prime Pediatric or Hormoz's podcast, you know, or Gary Vee's podcast, or I mean, there's so many people with podcasts. Like, just start looking up. Diary of a CEO is great. This podcast is really good. Making moves for the Travis Stewart's podcast. Yeah, you know, there's just a lot that you can listen into, and I mean, YouTube University, another great start. And if you're like, I don't know who to go to, it just takes finding one person, and then from there, the algorithms just take off, and you start seeing other people pop up on your feed. It's amazing. Instead of following Barstool and, you know, going down those algorithms, you now start to see a bunch of different algorithms.
Oh yeah, all of those kind of pages are just like a waste of my time. Like I feel like I get dumber when I listen to those things, and like it's entertaining and everything, but at the end of the day, like I can only take so much entertainment.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think that's about all we got for today's episode. Spencer, you got anything to say for our listeners?
Nope. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening. Like we said, if you do want to share this on Instagram, please tag both Spencer and I, and let us know what your word of the year is. We would love to know. And we're super excited. Spencer and I have been talking about the guests we have lined up for 2023. Really excited to start sharing those. And if you are like, I'd like to hear from this person, reach out to us. We'll do our best to get them on. No promises, though. Other than that, hope y'all have a blessed day. Keep rocking, keep rolling. Look forward to chatting with you next week.
Peace.